Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 66th episode of the House of Light expansion for Book of Hours, our first run through YouTube playing as the Archaeologist. So I more or less covered what I was planning on doing at the end of the last episode. We are going to be trying to get through another level of the Gullscry Tower. It's a little funny because, of course, all the excitement is in the jail. And we could actually burrow down and also take a look at the dawn period, although for some reason I always tend to leave that to the end. But I'd already divided my my elements of the soul, so this is the get stuff done pile, this is the get resources pile. And I'm trying to think, I think what we'll do is we'll spend the money to get the whist restored at the Sweet Bones right away. Let's start with a batch of activities at Crowcross Sands and the Moor, and that way if I do wind up using this for something else, I just won't feel bad about what I redirecting the effort elsewhere. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to try and get some eggs. Let's see what we have in spring. So, moth orchids, fragrant chalice, cat's claw. And, oh, sorry, hang on. It's summer, not spring. Okay, so yeah, still moth orchids, agave eterna, trumpeter's lily, and sea holly. Okay. So we got honey scar jasmine, we've got trumpeter's lily, fragrant chalice. Too late for the cat's claw. Might be nice to have another not moth orchid. Might be nice to have another sea holly, maybe. Although it doesn't give me a whole lot. I feel a little bit better about either getting the pears or getting the vegetables. So I think what I'm going to do here, let's do one for the pears. One for the vegetables. Carrots, tomatoes, marrows, and blessed onions, all the unsung heroes of the stew pot. Okay. I'm debating as to whether or not I want to try for the Curious Hunch. I think I do. So that will mean we use the Arab and one of the pattern texts. I think we already did Advice on Containment and the other Eye of the Serpent, so we're on Imperfections again. And that'll mean we use one of the Shapt as well. The other thing I'll use the Arab for is opening a container. So, a box of rarities, a tiny treasury of forgotten things. Perhaps there's a real rarity in here somewhere. And I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. Okay. Sunny day doesn't really change the calculation that much in terms of what I want to do. So, assistance from Mr. Kill, let's do it. A tamer of trees, a worker of wood, a consigner of cadavers. He has also been known to try his hand very diffidently at poetry. So let's start him off with the regret. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. And we will restore the whist right away. Now, because we're not actually going to use Mr. Kill to open the room until the end of the day, I actually have the option of using a glass of water to restore it. In this case, it's just a little bit faster. It gets it out of the way. It also gives me the option of pursuing something else. So we'll just restore this right now, and we'll see where we are with the rest of the day. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is summer. I am sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. Moving on, we will, I think at this point we'll just see, excuse me, how the rest of the day shakes out. Some of this does kind of hinge on what I get out of the various packages. So, for instance, I'm opening the slim parcel last, most likely because it's going to be a wine bottle. Which is certainly not a bad thing, but it's not immediately required. Memories don't last long outside books, but it's made a difference for the day. So we're kind of committed to the to opening up the room. So we'll give him the Solomon's preparation. I can offer my assistant something to drink. Okay, a Dear Day lens. Crack open the container. Delight in your discovery. Certainly not a bad thing to get, but maybe not the most important. Think we might be able to fit this on the shelf? No, we had this problem last time. We'll put you on this shelf for now. I bet if I move the aisle water to the side, we can probably fit it. Yeah. On Imperfections, Pomander, Lightsmith, and Lantern Long describes the process of transinhabitation, which he calls a manifestation of imperfection. Lantern Long lack bodies, and so cannot normally leave the Mansis, but they can steady glint in the physical world by establishing a road of glass. Pomander notes with disgust that the Order of Long called the Obliviates refer to it as scrying, which he considers a debased term. Pomander explains the benefits of transinhabitation, that a Lantern Long can affect the senses and thoughts of those nearby, that they can even enter their spirits, and that they can employ the senses of those inhabited to experience again the scent of blossom and season. This seems to be what interests him most. He insists that a Lantern Long should only ever inhabit a mirror of silver, not silvered glass, but he declines to explain why. Okay. So with that, we'll go to the Shrine of St. Januarius. St. Januarius is the name which was wounded, the name of exceptions, the little god at the door. So we'll employ the pattern, we will employ great signs and great scars, the shaft, knit memories into certainty. So this is more just sort of to have this in reserve, but it is nice to have. And I think moving on to the next one, we'll open up the box of rarities. So something small and rare. Crack open the container. Delight in your discovery. Better now, so we'll use this with Mr. Kill right away. I think what I'll do on this one is I'll use the core. We don't have an immediate need for it, but what this will allow me to do is I can make a bit of money, I can restore the core, and then we can decide if another element... Actually, you know what? The same argument exists for Foss, so we should do that here. Help with letters. I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There's no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. All right, down to the Grecians. This has boosted their aspects appropriately. Collaborate, whist. We'll watch for what lies ahead. Boosts Winter and Lantern. All right, another package to open. Fair enough. Abandoned luggage, long past the help of any lost and found. That might be a higher priority than these parcels, actually. Right, carrots, tomatoes, marrows, and blessed onions, all the unsung heroes of the stew pot. And sea-strewn, salt-snared stuff. Now, if I can get my winter skills up a little bit higher, this will be great for making... it'll be great for making Solomon's Preparation, but right now we're just one short of... Well, I say one short. There's a couple of ways that I can angle it a little bit in my favor, but... right, it feels bad to do this, but we have a lot of Ava's locks. So the question here is, do I feel comfortable using the Tryst at Crowcross Sands yet? I think I will do it here just because I have 3 Tryst. But I should start keeping an eye on my Elements of the Soul and what I plan on using them for. And Fragrant Pears, soft in the hand. So we have 3 pears... Actually, probably 4. Yeah, we've got plenty of pears now, so I don't think I need to... I don't think I need to do more with it. This will be a little bit like the last Tryst. So I have some options here. I'm less likely to... I think I'm less likely to get the eggs. And that's just because it does require the element of the soul both ways. And we are going to be leveling up Mr. Kill. But if I stock up on vegetables, at the very least, I'll be able to do the loop with the chickens when we have a little bit less. I should probably take a visit to the beehive, though. So, again, we can save that for a bit later. Let's see how the rest of the day shapes up before we make any hard decisions. And same argument for the books here. They're nice to open up, but we have other priorities today, so I don't need to prioritize them. Okay, so one last item. That's the Pale Marrow. Offer something to eat. I can offer my assistants something to eat. This will increase their aspects. It's also just friendly. So in 30 seconds, I do actually have the option of just opening up the Howling Chamber. Or I can try and get some memories from Mr. Kill. Now the question would be, what do I need those memories for? And really it's just a question of keeping something overnight. Which is, you know, that's legitimate. Like I can see some value in keeping at least one memory. I don't think I'm going to keep talking to him for the rest of the day, though. I think we'll just get a head start on the Howling Chamber after that. All right, something small and rare. This is actually not bad. So I don't usually use the Flushed Mommet this way, but I could use this to level up Mrs. Kill and go to some of the more difficult Grail rooms. I also could use this to read some of the more difficult Grail texts. So, a crimson-stained little cloth doll with merry button eyes and a frill of twitching ribbons. So this is a device, a machine that will only operate once. If it's an infernal device, that means it'll explode, so be careful. Inert, a device, but not one that can survive being activated by casual handling. This can survive Consider without being used up, although it'll still be used up in crafting. Okay. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I want to do with the Faust here that can't be done, or that, like, I'm trying to think if there's something unique to the Faust that I have to have done no matter what. I think the answer to that is no. I might have used that for the chickens, but I think I'm comfortable enough opening up the abandoned luggage in this case. I'm trying to decide if I want to use the metal for that or not. That's still TBD, but something rare, crack open the container, delight in your discovery. And again, this is bringing Mr. Kill to 11 winter, so we'll be able to open up the Howling Chamber. But before we do that, we'll talk about... we'll keep talking until we can get some memories. So Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry, doesn't mind stopping for a gossip. And help with letters, an afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers to the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. So that was one thing that I forgot about my totals for memories. I am actually cycling through my FOSS to get some extra cash, so I should be able to turn that into, again, a cycle with the chickens. I could turn that into cataloging a book. I could translate that into reading a book, but I don't see why I'd want to do that. Or I can cycle it through one more time and maybe restore the whist and try to use the whist to generate a Solomon's preparation, although it's maybe a little late in the day for me to do that. It is summer. I am sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. Curious hunch, the moth's gift or mine? A sudden, unlikely certainty. Dead men don't tell no bloody tales. Well, who'd listen? So, I might want to take a minute and think about what does this gossip get me. So this would be something that I can use in the motley bed. I haven't traditionally used rows for any kind of reading. If I had something that I could level up using it, that would be interesting. And there's just the simple idea of, well, maybe sometimes I need something that has memory as an input, so something like the Curious Hunch, so that is an option as well. But let's just take a look here. So we've got the radical measure is the lowest I've got. So let's just experiment. We're not going to be able to take advantage of the traveling barbers. So, well, I mean, theoretically I can hire them and bring them in, but it's quite late to be doing that. So let's do a quick experiment. Let's say, suppose we wanted to use the rows to read the radical measure. And of course, preliminal meter is one that's already kind of where we want it. So if we use the gossip here, we would employ the lunar globe. Preliminal meter, I think, is our best rows. Path and pilgrim, actually. Okay, so we can get up to 9, which, you know, fair enough. I'm not entirely sure we wouldn't... we're not guaranteed, but it wouldn't be impossible. I guess the really tough part that I have here is that preliminal meter is an illumination and an ithistry skill. And I think with the arrival of Crack Track, we actually have a chance here of employing preliminal meter in one of the slots. I feel like I actually thought about this one before, but then I also think for ithistry we didn't really put a whole lot of thought. Sorry, let me just look at the spreadsheet here. I need to remember what the... so ithistry was Faust and Fet, it looks like? Faust and Whist, sorry. And illumination was, well, obviously Faust and metal. I don't know. I feel like some extra points in preliminal meter wouldn't be wrong. There's the slight challenge in the fact that it's maybe not the best one for me to be leveling up. The problem with this is that I can level it up, it'll get me more rows. Oh. I think this basically puts us in the same position that we are with the Red Book of Brittany, actually. Yeah, so I mean, the real challenge with this one here is that we can get 2 more levels with preliminal meters, so that brings us up to rose 5. So in effect, that is 1 more rose than we currently have access to, which is not nothing. But because it's knock, and because Great Signs and Great Scars has already given me much better access to because it's already given me much better access to the knock texts. I'm certainly not saying that I don't need to level up preliminal meter right now. I'm just wondering if this is... Like, what I would be doing here is I'd be employing my FET. I would be... I'd be hoping we get a good roll on the opportunities. I think it's better for me to talk with Mr. Kill right now. Sorry, I know that was longer than probably most people wanted to handle, but I'm just not so sure that gossip is the most important thing to me for me to be holding on to right now. I should be making some decisions with regards to my tryst health and core soon, but let's actually say no matter what, we'll probably visit the beehive with the health. I think that's pretty solid. All right, Whispering Sand's not my favorite, but we'll turn it into something. All right, Hallowed Anthropoderm. Yes, it's human skin, but it's not just human skin. Do I just put this in the storage place? Okay. So, decision time. This is basically setting up the rest of the run for today. I think we'll go back to Crowcross Sands. We might as well make what we can of our opportunities. We will go to the beehive. Bees, like librarians, are not to be trifled with. Let's see what Coil and Chasm gives us. Honey or bee? Actually, you know, it feels wrong not to use printiments and precursors, so... Gather in summer, honey or beeswax if I'm careful. So that leaves the question of the core. Do I want to get grapes so that I can feed the chickens again? Do I want to get vegetables so I have the option of pulling out a... This, by the way, is... in terms of the seasons that it grows, there's a slight difference, but grapes are kind of a weaker choice. In summer, it makes slightly more sense to get the sacks of vegetables because you can potentially convert a sack of vegetables into a dish that you need for the salon, whereas grapes will only ever remain grapes. But obviously I'm not really thinking that way. I do think, however, I'm more likely to host a salon than I am to feed the chickens right now, so I think I am going to go and use the core for the remaining for another sack of vegetables. And then for... That leaves me with the metal. So I do have the option with the metal to interact with the chicken to at least get an egg. But again, I don't need the egg right now. If I need an emergency egg, I have it. If I need... if it's just about stocking up, we have other opportunities to stock up. So I think the better option for me here is to get cataloging books. I know it's going to be hard for... I know it's going to be hard for storage, but we might as well get this out of the way here. So, the Nocturnal Period book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Nocturnal Period after the turn of the century. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Another thing I'd like to do at some point is earn the Wormwood Dream, because I think we can do that with a little bit of effort. Oh, I keep forgetting I've got the extra Frost, too. Well, I definitely can't bring back the metal in time. what I'll do here, I'll take this whist. One of these is going to be used to open up a container. The other one will be used to make back the money. All right, foresight. I can definitely see myself using the foresight with Denzel. So that leads us to open up the Howling Chamber in the Gullscry Tower. Great chunks have been torn off from the walls of this room. The wind roams the place like a trapped beast, battering to and fro. Yeah, we might as well open up the container now. So I'll do that for the contraband jetsam. We threw this overboard. Now there's an argument for me to say that I should just use the whist to do, like, to open up another container or something like that. Again, we don't always need to get the money out of it, but I don't know. I think I'll earn the money on this time. Now I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents. The Locksmith's Dream in Cursus, the fifth and final volume of Teresa Galmier's notorious work, which began as an examination of parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans, but became an account of her own occult journey. This volume was apparently never published, nor allegedly even written. Yet here it is. So this is a neat one. It gives us Glazerian lightsmithing, which I don't recall. I actually don't think we have that one yet. It never hurts to just take a look. Okay, Sacrosalis. Yeah, so this one's high on the list of things to read. It's also easy to read, which is nice. As for the rest of the rest of the day we've already got handled. I don't think it... it kind of depends on how the rest of the day goes. I can definitely see us trying to go through the broken bridge. The Gullscry Tower Eels Room. Eels de Wolf inherited his father Valentine's madness and was found unfit to inherit, so his sister Ava held the isle in his stead. When his fits of violence became uncontrollable, he was confined here in the tower, where his sister would visit him 3 times a week until his escape sometime in the late 1720s. Eels's ultimate fate remains unknown. So a few items inside here. We've got the cage. Valentine de Wolf put his only friends in cages. Did he close the cage doors? We have a stimfling. Ava de Wolf taught her father Valentine how to hatch these silvery little villains, but he never learnt to like them. So, Moon and Scale. Now, using a cooperative beast as well as a comfort, these are actually quite powerful to have. So imagine I'm reading a text and I get the opportunity for a comfort. Being able to add 3 Moon or 3 Scale is a big deal. I don't just need to wait for paintings for that, although I do need to feed the stimfling again after the fact. We've got 2 baronial period books which we can catalog. And The Watcher, another of Valentine's paintings, a barn owl he nursed back to health. The final room of the Gullscry Tower is the Screaming Summit, so we would need to find another winter for Mr. Kill. Now, the good news out of that one is we could basically do the same thing we did yesterday, or rather today, and we'd just give him the U-blank. But again, it's not so important that we be able to get to the top of these towers. It's more, I'm taking the opportunities where I can. So here the wind's rage is so great that I can barely stand upright. It forces me to retreat back to the stairs. I can hear the voice in the wind now, crying out in sorrow as great as the wind's rage. Sorry, I've really not wanted to talk about it. So while I've been recording these, obviously there is the diplomatic way of putting this would be that there is a trade dispute between Canada and the United States. Obviously, there are probably more accurate ways of depicting that here, but apparently it seems like the U.S. national anthem was just booed at a hockey game in my city. Needless to say, I do recognize there's a very large number of U.S. viewers to the channel. I will not, I will not extend discourtesy to citizens for their nation's foreign policy. I will, however, encourage you to buy Canadian. All right. Here the wind's rage is so great that I can barely stand upright. It forces me to retreat back to the stairs. I can hear the voice in the wind now, crying out in sorrow as great as the wind's rage. And another box of rarities. That's encouraging. But we'll deal with that in another episode. As tempted as I am to see the box of curiosities, we will go for help with letters. I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There's no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. I realize we are at time. There's not a whole lot to do for the rest of the day, but I will get to the evening just so that we can start fresh at the start. But now's not a bad time to recap what our plans are. So where I can... Oh, sea-strewn, salt-snared stuff. Always happy to see more pilchards. That will be fuel for the salon. So we've got 2 of each now, which is a nice place to be. I haven't really thought about the guest list for the next salon, which I should probably think about. Ooh, and we got some honey. The blood of the hour called malachite. Also, and furthermore, wonderful on toast. I probably could stand for a little better organization with the honey, but I'll live with what I've got. Now that night has fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. And carrots, tomatoes, marrows, and blessed onions, all the unsung heroes of the stew pot. So a lot of this is just a question in terms of what times do I want to do certain things. So I'd say because glaziering and lightsmithing is a new one, we want that as soon as we can. So we don't know if it'll be Numa tomorrow. It'll be really interesting if it is, because Spencer Hobson will be arriving. But I think one of the highest priorities right now would be to read The Locksmith's Dream and Cursus. I sort of put these on the shelf without really thinking a whole lot about what I would need or why I'd work with them. So the one that I think is probably the most useful for me right now would be The Raptures of Forculus. That is, I've kind of already committed that I'm going to be taking Great Signs and Great Scars further. So, you know, I guess traditionally, in fact, if I'm going this, so technically at 6, this means it's not going into the Horamachistry line, but I think I'm actually going to put this one into, sorry, in the Hushry one. I think I'm going to put this in Horamachistry, and I believe I normally put Edicts Martial in Horamachistry, so maybe we can say Great Signs and Great Scars goes up to 8, and Edicts Martial goes up to 9. That also works pretty well, because if you see these, right, we've got the Grail and the Knock, and then we've got the Edge and the Moon. So that's 4 unique elements of this, or sorry, 4 unique aspects that can get quite a bit of support in terms of the books that I'm reading. Now, easier said than done in terms of leveling up Edicts Martial, of course, but I think that's a decent target to shoot for. So maybe we do Raptures of Forculus after Locksmith's Dream. The only thing is, it will be quite challenging to get the memories required, but we've already dedicated a day to doing something like that before. I don't see a problem doing that again in the future. Now, you've got 2 Sacralamea texts. I need to figure out where Sacralamea is going in the overall scheme of things, because that would actually take that fairly high compared to some of my other skills. There's a small argument for it in the sense that it gives me more Moth and Sky, and there's a slight argument against it in the sense that we already have Bells and Braziaries and Inks of Revelation, which are giving me those aspects and at higher levels. And then of the remaining ones, I guess there's the Sun's Lament, True and Complete Accounting of the Asclepian Mysteries, The Roots of the House, and the Annals of St. Brendan's, and it's more or less the same argument as any of these other ones. There's a slight argument for pushing Inks of Containment higher because it helps with theoplasmic contamination, but the problem is that we don't actually have any theoplasmic contamination that is affected by what Inks of Containment gives me. I need Heart in this case. Well, Heart or Forge, but again, Inks of Containment doesn't provide either of those. So, yeah, I don't quite know how I feel about throwing those elements of the soul toward, or those skills towards that, those lessons towards that particular skill when it's not obvious I have a need for it. But I think honestly, that's something we can deal with reasonably late anyway. So based on what we know there, so yeah, Cartier's Delights is on the table. There's actually a small argument that I should probably read Cartier's Delights first in case it gives me two. I think it's at level... I think it's level 10 that they start giving you two, but it could be level 8. Either way, it's well within our capabilities. We don't even need a memory for that. And that would actually be it for our Nock stuff. For Grail, I think it's harder. So I think even with the Dream of the Conspiracy of the Lower Skies, I need to bring a pretty powerful Grail memory to that. So if we got up to level 8 with this, let's say, so we'd have 9 plus Arab would be 11. So I need another 5. So clearly if I get a Newman, that helps. But of course, at that point, we would be getting the Great Signs and the Great Scars. So what we would want to think at that point is what can we level up? So Horns and Ivories would help. In fact, that's actually an argument for Cartier's Delights at that point. We could level up Horns and Ivories and actually just that. So, but yeah, I think we're getting. I think there's a shape of a turn showing up here. As for Edict's Marshal, it sure would be nice to have a little bit more edge and Moon to deal with. With the Ascendant, you know, maybe what I should be doing in addition to generating the Wormwood Dream, we should maybe see if we can start making some winning moves and invincible audacities, and just use that to elevate our edge reading so that we can get the Edict's Marshal and have that translate into some higher levels for Edge and Moon. Whether or not I remember any of this is a whole other question, but I will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a nice weekend, and bye Canadian. Take care. Bye.